put salt in the brew.
Really?
Take the bitterness right out.
Like how much salt?
Don't kill yourself. Just sprinkle some in there.
Okay, that's a new one.
Not even a half a teaspoon. And I use pink Himalayan salt.
Pink Himalayan. And that just takes the bitterness right out, huh?
Give you a real bold flavor.
Wow. So you're deep in the coffee game too.
Yeah, I mean, I like the finer things in life. And a good cup of coffee. Now, don't get me wrong. Before I started working public sector, I wouldn't drink any coffee. But when I was working public sector, I worked outside all day long. So the coffee started as a means of staying warm. And then it got more about taste. After a while, you realize you happen to be somewhere and you're over the road traveling to something and you get you a cup of coffee and you realize what you've been drinking is garbage.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now you start to pay a little more attention to the different types of coffees and the different types of flavors and who make them.
Yeah, it becomes like this luxury.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they say a coffee wouldn't be a good day without it.
My day starts with it. If you don't want a different type of me, don't mess with me till I drink my coffee.
It's funny that you said that. A lot of people are like that.
But that's a family tradition in my family. Whenever we go south for any type of family reunion, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, you smell the coffee in the house. Because that's how early somebody's getting up, and it just starts from there.
Wow. 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And then when you wake up, you're smelling this
You're going to wake up
aroma.
from the smell of coffee.
Oh,
The smell is going to wake you up. Once the smell starts traveling through the house, it's going to wake you up.
that sounds like a perfect day to me.
And then you get on to the fried apples and biscuits.
Fried apples and biscuits. I'm talking, that's that real South.
Drop biscuits and fried green apples.
Now, the South life, right, Rob? It's definitely more laid back type feeling, right? Because obviously you reside in New Jersey now.
I've always resided here. I've never had residence in the South. Just I have family in every state on the eastern seaboard once you go over the Delaware Bridge. So I can stop at any state all the way to Florida. I got multiple family members in this in each state. But when we were kids, our family had farmland, well, still does, in the South. And when we were kids, the farm was still active. So when school was over in June, somewhere towards the latter part of the end of July,
Head straight there.
everybody's gone. You're going to be an extra hand to help around the farm.
Now, what was so great about knowing that you were heading down south? What was it that you were looking forward to?
When you were a child, nothing.
Really?
Because you knew you had to do work.
Oh,
Going to work that farm.
really?
And the crazy thing is, that's a lost skill set. Like when you come by the store now, you see I grow food throughout the summertime. I've even built a greenhouse in the back to grow my own food, and I'm tinkering around building my own aquaculture system now. They did the first lockdown and we couldn't go nowhere, and they had curfews. The bulk of the customers came during the early part of the daytime. So I got a bunch of afternoon and evening time where I'm bored.
So you know how to farm. Mm-hmm. You know how to plant.
A little bit. I can.
Yeah.
I can do a little bit. Now that I think about it, I grow quite a variety of different things. Maybe about 6 or 7 different types of tomatoes. Mm-hmm. Cabbage. 2 or 3 different types of cabbages. Collards, kale, corn, string beans, peas, potatoes, eggplant, squash, and about maybe 6 different types of peppers.
Oh, so the works.
Mm-hmm.
The works. You know what's funny, Rob, that the first time I ever planted anything was in this very backyard.
Here?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea what I was doing. So what I wanted to plant was basically some tomatoes, but mainly mint, because we drink it with our tea. We love the mint with tea. So I said, okay, let me give it a shot. So I call my sister and I'm like, okay, walk me through this. So she's telling me, okay, step 1, step 2, this is what you do. This is how first you got to clear the earth, and you plant the seeds at this much of a distance, and this is how you cover it, whatever the case is, right? So I did exactly that. First of all, I mean, as easy as mint sounds, like it's not, to me it was a work in progress. I had to get my hands dirty in order for me to later in the future receive something back from the earth. And as I was doing it, I was telling my wife, I felt this feeling in me that I never ever felt before in my entire life. It was a different feeling. Like, when you go and you want to buy new clothes, you get that feeling, right? Or when you want to get that new car, it gives you a feeling. And I'm familiar with all these feelings, but this specific feeling I never felt before. And you know what it was? I felt, when I finally finished, I felt like the earth and I were connected in some way.
Well, you know, the earth vibrates at a certain level. And the act of planting or sowing, you were getting back in tune in the same vibration as the earth. You would see, what a lot of people don't understand is that we're all living. All of us have a level that we vibrate at. The grass, the birds, the trees, everything has life. And in that moment, you were recreating life with something as simple as the mint plant. And it gave you a sense of purpose, a sense of fulfillment, because you also know this is something you ingest. Now you know the actual path that this mint plant is going to go through before it gets into your body. You know that you're not going to the store now and don't have an idea of what happened to this mint plant before you bought it. Now you know you bought the seed, you planted the seed, you cultivated the seed, and you know exactly what's on that mint plant.
I know where it comes from organically.
You know all the processes it went through before it goes into your body. That's one of the greatest. It's one of the greatest feelings you get growing your own food.
The connection.
I don't and knowing that it's chemical free. In my gardens, I don't use any fertilizers. any chemicals.
No, and no type of boost whatsoever, huh?
The boost is from what the past season has given back to itself. Everything is a cycle on this planet, even our lives. We're born to live, to die. One thing that we all have in common, it does not matter who you pray to, it does not matter even if you believe in a higher power. You born, you live, and you die. So every year, we have the ability to watch the earth become born in the springtime, live in the summer, and die in the fall and the winter. So when those leaves fall and those twigs fall off the tree, most people rake them up, bag them up, and put them out for this city public works department to collect them. It's natural fertilizer. I put it right back on the garden. Let it decompose right back into the garden. And till it right back in. Even the vegetables that I don't use, the cuttings from the vegetables I don't use in the store, or any vegetables that I don't, that rot or anything during the growing process, it stays right there. You go check the pH of my garden right now. I said, it's perfect. And 9 years I've been growing, and I think the second year, well, let me back up to respond to what you was talking about when you grew your mint. My first year, I had no clue what I was doing either. I went out and bought $200 worth of seeds.
That's like you could. That's like you would use that for 2 acres.
Yard, man, just planting the whole yard. I don't have no space between nothing that's supposed to be. I'm just happily planting everything.
All right.
I don't think anything grew that year.
Unbelievable. Nothing grew.
I don't think so.
You know, you said something about the earth and how it comes. Basically, we watch the earth come to life, flourish, and then finally die. And it's kind of a reminder. I was reading once that Jesus, during Jesus' time, one of the companions of Jesus passed away, and they had to bury him, obviously. So as soon as they did, Jesus noticed that there was something wrong with the disciples. So he asked them, what's wrong? And they said, well, I mean, this is somebody who we knew and we loved and we cherished. And now it kills us to see us put him in the cold earth, basically. And what Jesus replied, he said, there isn't anything that I think that you should be worried for this man, because as God protected him and shielded him and fed him in the womb, God is going to do the same thing in the womb of the earth. So that is I find to be astonishing, that we are these creatures that are made up of the same minerals as this planet that we walk on.
Dark matter.
Oh.
We from once, how they say, from what you come, so shall you return. Everything is a cycle. Enjoy it while you're here. Because you're in rented space.
Let me ask you a question. How do you enjoy it? How can we underline that statement? How does someone sincerely enjoy life?
I'm not going to even be presumptuous to even sit here and attempt to tell you that I know. I have some general answer for how you enjoy life. That's to be determined by the individual.
Mm.
Because what I enjoy, you won't. What he enjoys, we may find offensive. That's the beauty of individualism. At one point in life, I studied history when I first went to college. My desire was to be a history teacher, go back to my old high school and teach history.
Mm.
And in that time, you find that what you would think would be an enjoyable situation, if there was one that can be replicated across the board, it's not. Or let me be a little more specific.
Mm.
There are many stories throughout time of how people were persecuted just for their beliefs.
Absolutely.
All over the world. I don't think that there's a continent that at some point in time people were persecuted for what they believed. So at some point, this great experiment that they call America was deemed to be a place where you can freely practice what it is that you believe or what it is that makes you happy.
Mm-hmm. This is why so many people wanted to come here.
That is true. But even that is questionable, because what we saw a perfect example this past week in Washington, D.C. Of people who have taken what makes them happy a little too far.
Mm.
And not to get biblical on you, but in every religion it tells you to not worship idols.
Especially in the three Abrahamic religions. Absolutely. So you're saying we as a nation or beings have developed idol worship? Absolutely.
Oh yeah, that's without question.
Like, for example, celebrities and...
We watched it last week.
Right.
Can there somehow be a potential that the elections were a fraud? I guess anything's possible. But at some point you have to bring forth proof. You're my cake distributor. You do everything within your power to make sure when you service me, I am fully prepared to provide that product to my customer. So what if at some point You only want to give me what you want to give me because it makes you feel good. Or you just want to give me a bill and I'm supposed to pay you, but there's no product. There's no transaction.
There's no give and take.
Mm-hmm. At that point, we're not living in reality. I'm quite sure that those who appreciate what he did for them would have loved to see him get another term. But the realism is that based on what we've been told about the election, it doesn't exist. And you haven't brought forth any proof to prove that it's anything otherwise.
So let's say they did somehow, let's say they came up with some proof.
Then we have a whole nother situation.
It'll be a different story is what you're saying.
The courts would have ruled as such. But, I've always told everybody, maybe America is getting just what she deserves. Maybe the world needs to see that two different systems exist here. We all saw with our eyes this summer. I'll do you one better. I was at the original Million Man March on the mall. And during that time, they had helicopters hovering, snipers on the roof, and they weren't hiding them. We could visibly see them. And there were easily 1 million people there because they only showed you the people that were on the mall. The one block over was just as many people because that's where the food was. So I saw a preparedness that in case Farrakhan had said, get him, we would be prepared to shoot you down. And let's fast track to the demonstrations this past summer. You gassed and tear bombed people for peacefully protesting. You let people in to the Capitol. I really don't want to do the what if isms.
But what if?
Had it been us, there'd still be chalk on the mall.
Oh, absolutely.
You can never get a black man and a Muslim together to get nowhere near the Capitol. We can't even spell Capitol steps in D.C. without being pulled over. So, I believe personally, and they want to give me flack for it. It is what it is. I mean, at some point, we have to address the truths about what we live and the realisms about what we deal with if we ever want to get to anything better. And so what is the goal? Is the goal to get to anything better, or is it just to keep the status quo? I mean, I'm really sick and tired. I'll be 49 in March. And I'm really getting tired of hearing the same fight over and over again.
What are the differences that you see? Because we know that there's been struggle, right? Every decade, let's say, right? And in the 60s, there was definitely things going on politically, right? Or even outside of that. What is the difference between then, the problems that we have then before, in comparison to the problems that we have now? They're all the same problems. Believe it or not, it's the same book. But how come How come things are changing drastically now that everything is unraveling? Damn right. Yeah.
The 60s. The majority of America couldn't believe it until they seen it on the news. It just couldn't happen. When I graduated in the 90s, during the Rodney King uproar in on the West Coast, there's no way this could be happening to black people. This is the belief. In the 2000s, life can't be that bad for people of color. What are you talking about? And then somebody invented a cell phone. A smartphone.
A smartphone, right.
Where the actions can be captured and actually streamed live as they happen. And even then, cognitive dissonance, where I don't want to accept it, even though I know it's there. There's no way that these guys could be getting killed like that. Maybe you just need to comply with the police. But how many times you got to be killed without a weapon? You shouldn't be killed for a simple traffic stop. And at what point have we gotten to that we just care that little about life? Where have we gotten to that your life really means nothing to me at all? Not based on anything about you, just based on the color of your skin. Now, and I've told you when we would be at the store about the what I always found interesting about the plight of your people, and how I would always talk to Ahmed and Ziza about different stories. And so they shoot at you with missiles and you have to protect yourself with nothing but bricks. They tell us you're accepted, but let us test this vaccine on you. It's not even really a vaccine. It's something that, it's not going to bother you at all. It'll make you a better person, and you find out they've been pumping you full of herpes, syphilis, gonorrhea, anything. And there's always the position that, just like now, there's a reluctance to take the vaccine for the coronavirus in my community.
In many communities.
And the position is, well, you just got to trust that we wouldn't do that again. When the actual position should be, you have every right to feel like that because we broke your trust. So see, this society has, in my opinion, taken the humanity out of being human. It's funny, I was just reading an article the other day, a business article, when Bitcoin was soaring. And it said that had the executives and unions gotten out of the way, I can't remember specifically word for word what it was saying about pay wages. But what it basically said was that the average pay wage in America right now should be $109,000 a year. So you take that and you make it relative to everything that's going on. Even if you had, and you're going to have an escalation in price, you're going to have some type of inflation in order for that to be exact. But can you imagine the effect it has across the board? See, you can't, and I was just saying that he said the system is corrupt. But you can't really say that. It's supposed to be. There's nothing about capitalism that's fair. And we live in the assumption that this is a capitalistic system. And in a capitalistic system, there has to be winners and there has to be losers. And there's going to be fewer winners and there's going to be a lot of losers.
That's just the way it always been.
I want you to work for me for as little as I have to pay you. I really care nothing about your well-being. I'm about my own escalation. But if for a moment you put the humanity back into things, I personally believe that you have a better environment to live in. When you have people that can't meet their basic needs, even after working all week,
this is what's going on now, right? Why were the masses basically affected emotionally when this whole thing had started? Is because, you know, when you put like the cartoons, when they're in a factory and the wheel is spinning, and then they go and put a wrench, and then everything comes to a stop. So when everything comes to the stop, the system falls.
I am only blessed that my business was not interrupted during COVID. Because honestly, I don't know what I would have done. I can tell you what I would have done. I would have not been able to just sit there and lose my property.
Just like many people.
Simply because, and I'm going to just say it for what it is.
Say it.
Simply because a bunch of old white men can't get their act together. So I'm supposed to lose everything I got because, one, you're not telling us what's really going on. Two, if we don't know what's really going on, we don't have a way to fight it. Three, you're not providing any assistance for what I'm losing. Four, you're not setting up anything with the mortgage company to offset me having the inability to pay my mortgage and not have my tenants pay their rent.
Just like Monopoly.
You created the perfect storm. And then you have somebody who's bold enough to say, they done took everything else from you, now they're taking the country from you. You see how the insanity just builds up? I'm already stressed and depressed because do not for one moment even attempt to believe that I'm justifying any of the insanity that you've seen over the past year.
Yeah.
But it is very hard.
Because there was some crazy stuff.
Yeah,
right?
No, not crazy. Straight Looney Tune.
Yeah.
I mean, you've witnessed the dumbing down of America, where I can tell you anything, and well, you know, they always said if you repeat something long enough, if you repeat a lie enough, it becomes the truth.
Right. Now, can I tell you a story that basically this whole thing and the way it works was explained to me? Okay, so it's kind of like A man enters a hotel because he's on a business trip somewhere in Europe, and he speaks to the hotel owner and he says, listen, I have $2,000 in my hand. Here you go. I'm going to give this to you. I need to stay here for about 3 weeks long. I'm on a business trip. I'll be right back. I'm going to make a couple of phone calls and we'll get back to the end process. Fine. The hotel owner grabs the $3,000, and before he was about to put it in his register, he said, oh, wait. I owe, or was it 2,000? I owe my chef $2,000. Let me pay it back to him. So he goes to the chef and he gives him the $2,000. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. The chef, before he went to go put it in his pocket, he said, I forgot that I owe the farmer that I buy my vegetation, the cherries and the tomatoes and the apples. I owe this farmer $2,000. Might as well just pay it off and get it over with. He goes to the farmer. He says, here's your money. Thank you for your loan. I really appreciate it. The farmer takes the money, and he was just about to put this money underneath the bed. And then he remembered that he owes $2,000 to the mechanic that fixes his equipment, his tractors. He goes to the mechanic and he goes, I owe you $2,000. Sir, here's $2,000. Thank you. Thank you. The mechanic takes the money. The next day, he goes into the city, enters the same hotel, and he says to the hotel owner, remember when you lent me the $2,000 I told you I wanted my son to get married? You're a hell of a man. Here's your $2,000 back. The guy on the business trip comes back to the hotel and he goes, listen, there's been some complications. I am no longer needed here. I need to go travel to another country. My company just spoke to me. Can I have my money back, please? The hotel owner, as the money was still in his hand, says, here's your $2,000 that you gave me. My question to you is, who lost?
Nobody.
Nobody lost. Everybody got paid their money. And that's the way our system is built. Once you put a wrench in it and make things stop when they're not supposed to stop, this is a cycle. This Ferris wheel needs to keep spinning, because if it doesn't, then it's like the domino effect. And I thought that was very awakening, and you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people who are fighting for the continuation of livelihood. We're not asking for much, right? We want good leaders, but we know we can't have great ones, but at least good. Well, I guarantee you many people will settle, right? Many of us will settle for a good leader. I mean, we're not looking for...
Sometimes all you got to do is just be halfway decent. Now, you see how far you done fell down the line just to get something done? And it shouldn't be... That shouldn't be. But that's the beauty of having a system where you're free to do whatever it is you choose to do. And everybody's on a rat race to get here.
Oh, some people will tell you, I'll give you my left arm. Just take me to America.
just to experience the dream. And you got to be very careful because, see, the English language is very profound and tricky at the same time.
Thought out.
You know, you come here to live out the American dream, a dream. They didn't say anything about the American reality. The American reality is you're going to be chasing the dream all your life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
That's the reality. Because no matter how much you get, no matter how good you may feel, when you leave the house today to go to work, you're going to see somebody doing a little bit better. You're going to see somebody driving something a little bit nicer than what you got. Your boss's outfit is just a little more pressed than yours. So now you got to get that too. The American dream is full of American greed. To always want. We are a consumer nation. Long as you got money, you go and buy.
I heard something crazy, like 90% of the world lives on what? $1 a day? I don't know, that's crazy.
It's not unrealistic to believe when you look at how many countries are set up. When you look at what and then you got to look at the values, the value system. What is important to you? What has been taught to you to be important? What are you putting a value on? If material things are important to you, then all your life, that's all you're going to do. Mm-hmm. Just buy, and all of your worth, all of your good feeling is in these material things. But then what happens if you have a fire? Now all your material things are gone.
And it happens a lot, right? And it may happen to me. It may happen to anyone. It may happen to you.
No one is immune from it.
No. Like a wise man once said, every once in a while, take off your shoes and walk barefoot. And somebody asked him why. He said, because you never know, there might be a day where you can't afford shoes.
And you have to walk barefoot.
So practice. Because you never know what might happen. And this is the truth, right? Mm-hmm. This is reality. So going back to my question, like the difference between our morals and ethics, our way of thinking. I mean, you witnessed the 60s.
I was born in 72.
Oh, 72. I'm sorry. What am I saying? So, I mean, 72, or say 82, you're 10. Okay, so about...
I was born 5 years after the 67 riots. And where my story is in Plainfield actually was one of the areas where they had the tanks running up and down the street during the riots. Yeah. My mother was... my mother and my aunt was alive during the riots. During the 60s.
Now, the difference between the people back then and the people today, what would you say when you reminisce, when you look back on those memories, right? The neighbor with a neighbor, the colleague with the colleague, the treatment of people.
There's more of an interracial involvement now, you know.
Right.
People of all races and all genders are involved in the fight now versus... in my studies, what I seen where it was just black people fighting for equality. Now there were some people, there were some other people fighting for the cause as well, but not like what you see today. And that's why you have, in my opinion, it being brought to the forefront because there are so many people involved. So many people have finally gotten fed up.
Right.
Now you do now. Back in the summertime when everything was burning, I was asked my personal opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, let it burn. Let it keep burning. And someone even asked me, well, how can you as a store owner say, let these other people, businesses burn? And it wasn't so much about the other businesses as much as it was about the system. So you can't, it's my opinion, you can't amend something that never included you. When the Constitution was written, I wasn't considered a man. If the Constitution was written today, we would have been property. So why would I even want to amend something to fit in that? No, let it burn. Burn it to the ground. Destroy the entire system. Then start anew. See, start with everybody on equal playing field. I don't need you to take your pen out and change the word to now include me. Because now this is a part of history that shows I was never included. And someone had to, at some point, either be forced or come to their senses to include me. See, in America, there was never a problem with black people knowing they were human or knowing they were equal. There were no laws created because black people didn't know they were human. The laws were created because white people didn't want to accept the fact that black people were equal. The laws were created for white men. They weren't created for black people. We already knew the commonality of being equal to everyone else. If I cut you and you cut me, we both gonna bleed red blood. When we both die and our body decomposes, we gonna both turn the same bit of mush inside the box. And if you come back and open the box up 30 years from now, we're gonna literally look the same. So what's the difference? Somewhere, somebody perpetuated a very evil lie in order to make themselves feel like a bigger person. And because that lie has been continually perpetuated through generations, we still suffer today. When if someone had just told the truth and acknowledged the fact that poor white folk and poor black folk have the same commonalities, you're not each other's enemies. It's the people who manipulate your situation to put you against each other, so they continue to benefit and live there. They live to enjoy themselves, because that was the original question: how do you enjoy yourself? They live to enjoy themselves within this capitalistic system. See, as long as I keep you fighting and spending your money while you're fighting, and I'm gonna sit over here and collect my money, we'll be all right. I ain't got no time to waste my time on those petty issues. Did the bank money come today? Okay, then we're good. And I'm gonna go buy me another house, about 10,000 square feet, and let this online store keep on going. And while the menial people keep arguing, they'll keep ordering. Because that's our bottom line, to keep the machine going. Don't disturb the machine.
100% agreed.
So, enjoyment is for you to determine. What is it that you enjoy? I find my most enjoyment sometimes just sitting in between the tomato plants on a lawn chair with the sun beaming on me. For one moment, I got peace and quiet. And that's what I enjoy at that moment. Now, a couple months later, my enjoyment could be with the top down 95, doing 100, headed south. That's my enjoyment for that moment. Long term, right now, just breathing. Keep it real simple.
Being alive is a privilege, right?
I lost a lot of friends last year. A lot. COVID or just other conditions. So the greatest bit of happiness is every morning when I do like this. Let me make sure that people saw that. That moment in the morning when you wake up and know that you were favored overnight and you can do it one more time.
You can do it one more time. That's the thing.
What happened yesterday, what I didn't accomplish yesterday, it's cool. It's in the past. I got another chance to do something different, to strike this iron today.
That's a crazy thought that just entered my mind right now as you said that. Because it almost sounds like a fictional story that somebody would write in a book. You know, like a story of these creatures that live and they play, they work, they have relationships.
Were you talking about the jinn?
No, I'm talking about humans. And the jinn as well, the unseen realm, of course. I mean, all these things that are happening within our lives, we don't really look at it as just the reality that we are in. It's just everything is normal to you. Now, if I was chosen to be in a body that lived during the ancient times, like 1,000 years ago, that is my life and that is my reality. I know nothing else.
I've always wanted to, or wished I could be able to travel back in time, not to interact.
What do you mean not? What do you mean not to interact?
Just to be able to go back in time, just to see what my ancestors was doing at a certain period in time.
Why is that? What is that going to change for you?
It's not even about changing anything.
Yeah.
It's just the curiosity to see what challenges they had during those times and what did they do to get through those challenges. You know.
Now, you said before, I don't mean to get all biblical on you, but I don't mean to get all biblical on you, Rob. But in the three major religions, the three Abrahamic religions, majority of the prophets were shepherds. That we know. And I think that isn't by coincidence. I think that was purposely placed for some majestic meaning. Because if you look at a shepherd's life, what does it consist of? It's a time spent with the herd, whether it's sheep or goat or whatever, the flock, and looking after that herd. Simple, right? And the rest of the time they have on contemplation with the world that is around them, because they have all this time to stare at the passing clouds, to look at this light in the sky, and see a change happen within the world around them, with this light disappearing, and then the moon coming back up, right? It's just like a night light in the sky. Now, if you erase somebody's memory every single day, right, and they woke up completely blank, he's going to go out there in the world and experience this world like it's another realm? What is this thing happening? What is this huge plant growing out of this earth? And you're telling me this plant gives air circulation? Okay, then imagine what would happen when you seen that big light in the sky slowly disappear. You would think to yourself, like, oh my God, is there going to be...
You're panicking. It's over.
Are you telling me this thing that gives us life is going away?
I need to talk to somebody. Who do I talk to get this? It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone. So now you got to wait, right? Now you got to wait.
But you don't know that 8 hours from now to be back.
And when it's back, what are you going to do? Oh my God.
You rejoice.
You rejoice. Why? Because you have that light again in your life.
And light is associated with life, with living.
And knowledge. Because knowledge is power. And in this generation, if you want to hide a secret from them, you know where you keep it?
Right in the library. Pick any one of them.
In a book, because that's a place they would never look. You're 100%. A life worth living is to experience having nothing at all.
Now, there were some who enjoyed the light, but there was some who wasn't afraid of the dark either.
That's a good one. That's 100%. The freaks come out at night.
That's the yin and yang of universal law. You got to have it all in order to have balance. You got to have lightness and you got to have dark. You got to have evil and you got to have good.
Man, that is balance.
It's got to have it.
That's the definition.
One will not exist without the other. But I can imagine every time the sun went down, the panic that went across the flock. Until divine wisdom came along and said, you know what? I think it's going to come back tomorrow. Yeah, that's what we'll call it. We'll call it tomorrow.
Because the saying goes, tomorrow is what? Tomorrow brings better days. You know, like that crazy loony that everybody looks at in the middle of the city, and he's holding a cardboard box the end is here. We have to start holding up this cardboard and saying the beginning is here.
Because mankind has wished for the end and swore that the end was going to come since he's been here. Since mankind's existence, he's always been talking about the end. And the end ain't got here yet. And when the end comes, none of us will be around. There's a whole lot of time left.
That's set.
It's a whole lot of time.
That you're saying that set is it's set for a specific generation, a specific people?
What I'm saying is that the time no one knows. So if you can get out there with a sign and say that the end time is here, it's not the end. Because the book said ain't nobody going to know when the end is coming.
Wow.
So if you got there talking about the end is here, I ain't worried about you. You just told me we going to be here tomorrow. The promise was no one will know the day or the hour. So based on the three main religions, no one knows the time or the hour. So if no one knows the time or the hour, but you can get out there and write this sign. That was the one promise, that when he returns, you ain't gonna know. None of us will know. So if you know, right? Mm-hmm. If you out there with a sign that just, I'll see you tomorrow.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. It's not on the schedule this week.
Yeah,
it's not on the schedule this week.
You know, there is a shift. We have to agree, right?
Absolutely.
There is an awakening. You
Absolutely.
feel it, right? But you can't put your finger on it.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. Same way you had that feeling when you planted that mint. You'll know.
Yeah, instinctively, right?
Just stay receptive. You'll know.
Because you spoke about energy.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it about energy that you feel like is a major component?
When you there are days when you really feel great. Seems like there's nothing you can do wrong. Everything that you want to happen for you just seems to be happening for you. And a lot of times we say this is a great day or I'm blessed. And all of those things are true. But you're also, there's a high potential that you're vibrating right along with every other living being around you. But when you're out of vibration or when you're out of sync, you can seem to be having a pretty bad day and don't know why things ain't going your way. You're trying to get to work and every light you get to turn red. Or why is there always traffic in front of me because I'm in a rush? Or why is my stomach hurting? And oh my God, I just want to go home and lay down. You're not in vibration. Your harmony is off. And quite often it comes from what you say right out of your mouth. You speak into existence your existence. You bring me anybody, randomly pick them from anywhere in the world, and let me talk to them for a few minutes. And after I finish talking to them, I can tell you exactly why they are the way they are, just by listening to what they say.
You know why, right?
You speak into existence just what's your existence.
They say the heart of a man lies underneath his tongue. Mm-hmm. So whatever he speaks is in whatever is in his heart.
Why you think they say the tongue is mightier than the sword?
Oh.
Whatever you want your existence to be, whatever you want your reality to be, it starts with what you say out your mouth. I told my graduating class June 21st, 1990, that in 5 years when they saw me, I would have my own business. You know when I opened the store? March 1995. Literally 5 years, 4 years and 9 months from the day I graduated. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize it until 5 years later when I was at a class reunion and somebody had told me, well, you told us you was going to do that. Whenever you come to the store, you ask me what's going on, I tell you all the time, I ain't got no complaints. I have no complaints about nothing. You know why? Because once you start complaining, that brings in that negative energy. Once you build that negative energy, now you got a whole negative cloud around you. You got this negative cloud around you and you're susceptible to everything that you don't want to deal with. So, to keep the negative over there, I don't have no complaints. If I can complain about it, I can change it. So, to keep my day as about as smooth as I can keep it, we're not going to even start the day with anything negative. Me saying I can't do something is me being the first person to defeat myself. When I'm in my store, there is no plan B. Because why would I be the first person to bet against myself? No, whatever we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. This is the only plan. Now, we may have to tweak it and make some adjustments as we travel along, but that is the plan. So, my word to everybody is, see it, say it, seize it. See it in your dreams, in your thoughts, and in your ideas. Say it verbally out of your mouth that this is something I want to do, this is what I'm going to do, or this is where I'm going to be, and this is when I'm going to be there. And after that, you just seize the action. Take it from being a dream to making it tangible. And that's how you reach your happiness.